Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger and my friends. In this video today, we're talking Tekken and we're talking the Mishima family. One of the great families in video games and very famous for, well, the fact that there's a lot of rivalries and a lot of battles within the Mishima family. Their toxicity drips down generation over generation over generation. There's basically nothing but bad blood. If you've heard anything about this family, it's probably the fact that they all fling each other off of very high places. And this is something that happens again and again and again and again. Even like the poor bear got flung off a helicopter once. And yes, the bear is part of the family. He's about the only wholesome part of the family you're going to find. Although, don't worry, the one trait about this family is every time you throw one of them off a ledge, you better believe they will find their way back up and angrier than ever. So suffice it to say, the Mishima family has issues. So I figure in this video, let's look at the Mishima family as a whole. Let's look through the family tree. Let's look through the genealogy. As the time of making this video, Tekken 8 is about to come out not too long from now, and a recent trailer debuted with what would appear to be the latest addition to the Mishima family, Reina, who is next in a long line of Heihachi's secret children. And there is more to talk about her, and we'll get to it later in the video, but first let's look at the family as it currently stands. So here's what the Mishima family tree basically looks like. Lots of generations of kids. Some we have defined mother-father pairings, others not so much, and some of the Mishima family is adopted. Now, to be sure, the most important part of the family overall is Heihachi, as, well, everything goes wrong with him, and all of his kids and adopted kids are also part of the problem. But we do know about Heihachi's father. That would be Jinpachi. So if you know anything about Jinpachi, you probably know him as the infamously cheap boss of Tekken 5. And you may notice he looks a little bit less than human. And hey, that's actually not his fault. As a man, he was a good guy. Maybe too nice of a guy, as he got betrayed by his son Heihachi and chained into the basement. Jinpachi was an arms manufacturer in World War II, and after the war, regretted his ways and basically dedicated his life to peace. And that worked out for a while, until Heihachi, his son, basically backstabbed him, took over his corporation, which would then become the infamous Mishima Zaibatsu, and chained him in the family basement until, well, he died. And then later, he was possessed by a demon, and then during one of the many false flags, red herrings of Heihachi dying, which keeps happening and keeps being alive, eventually the demon Jinpachi escaped the family mansion. He did his thing, he was beat up in short order, but basically, besides the fact his body was possessed by a demon after he died, he was a good guy. His son, though, not so much. So an easy way to describe Heihachi is power-hungry egomaniac. The thing is, he has the business acumen and the physical strength to basically take on all challengers. And those challengers wind up frequently being his own family members. Under the guidance of Heihachi, the Mishima Zaibatsu company basically became ultra powerful and also a massively destabilizing force in the world. The plot of many a character has been affected by Heihachi or the Mishima Zaibatsu, one way or the other. Another thing the Mishima Zaibatsu does is host the King of the Iron Fist tournament. You know, the thing you're playing Tekken for. Hosted for a variety of reasons, usually the big draw is big cash prize, and in later Tekken games, whoever wins the tournament wins control of the Mishima Zaibatsu. And that's a pretty big deal, as the Zaibatsu is not only a big company, it's actually more powerful than most countries. And if you were in control of it, you could say, go on ahead and say, start World War III. But I guess we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. But yeah, Heihachi is not a good guy. Let's just call it for what it is. Not a good guy. He's a criminal, he's a tyrant, and he's a lot of other bad words you could put in there. But in the end, he's just a guy. He's not supernatural, although he's basically about peak human strength. And his ambitions are pretty straightforward. He wants money, he wants power, he wants to leave behind a legacy, let's put it that way. But he's the regular kind of bad guy, right? He's not a threat to the world itself like his idiot kids and grandchildren. So now, let's talk about Kazuya and Kazumi. So Kazuya is Heihachi's firstborn son, and just to put it out there, Heihachi is not winning Father of the Year. He did kill Kazuya's mother, and he's tried to kill Kazuya himself many times over the years. And hey, to be fair, Kazuya has also tried to kill Heihachi himself many times over the years as well. That's where the whole cycle of cliff tossing each other begins. The thing about Kazuya is his ambitions are quite a bit higher than Heihachi's. Heihachi wants power, he wants money. Kazuya kind of wants more in the world domination sphere of influence. And you know what? He has a really good ace in the sleeve on that end, because Kazuya is the devil. He has a wonderful trait inherited by his mother called the devil gene, and the devil gene, well, basically makes him become the actual devil. There's a reason for it, which we'll get into, but basically, yeah, he's insanely powerful. His power is straight up supernatural, and he is a world-ending threat, as the plot of Tekken 8 is basically Kazuya declares war on Earth itself. And hey, who knows how that'll go in the end, but just going by the trailers that we've seen, looks like he's doing a pretty good job of it. So the power of the devil is genetic, and Kazuya inherited this trait from his mother Kazumi. Kazumi was the wife of Heihachi, well, until death did them part. And for the most part, she did seem to love him, actually, except the little hitch in the plan was she was actually an assassin sent to kill him. And she held off for a while, but the more she held off, the more the devil took over her body. And eventually, there was no turning off the switch, and Kazumi becomes Devil Kazumi. And you can see a very dramatic change in look. The devil power set radically changes every character differently, but suffice it to say, your appearance is shocking by normal human standards. The thing about the devil power is, while it makes you insanely strong by any reasonable standard, once again, Heihachi has no supernatural powers, but he might be the strongest human to have ever lived, and thus has the power to kill devils with his bare hands. Didn't necessarily take a lot of joy in it, but hey, if you come after me, that's the end of you. That's kind of how Heihachi's worked his whole life. And then when you know it, we come back to this footage again, we sort of open up that unending cycle of violence, because young Kazuya did not like the fact that Heihachi killed his mother. Weird, right? And Heihachi did not like the fact that, oh, by the way, this kid's gonna have those weird devil powers, just like his mom did, so how do we solve that problem? Well, it turned out Heihachi had one weird trick that devils hate, and yeah, this is where we kind of get that cycle of violence going. Now, Kazuya did survive being tossed off the cliff, and that did impress Heihachi. Effectively, he was impressed enough, okay, you know what, I will raise you. And Heihachi later on would very much regret that decision, saying he should have killed him on the spot, but he didn't. He raised him, taught him everything he knows about martial arts. Heihachi also adopted another son named Lee, and the main reason he adopted Lee was basically just to drive Kazuya crazy. Lee was both a rival for Kazuya, push him even further in the martial arts, and also a sort of threat in that, hey, I have another son, you're not the only heir. And basically, this is where all the nonsense begins. So we have the first King of the Iron Fist tournament, of which Kazuya enters, and would actually go on to win, defeating his father. And when he wins the tournament, well, it turns out time for revenge for the whole mother thing. So then Kazuya tosses him off a cliff. He's presumed dead. Okay, now I run the Mishima Zaibatsu. Only problem is, people don't die when they're thrown off cliffs here in this game. Heihachi climbs his way back up. Then we have the second King of the Iron Fist tournament, Tekken 2. And Heihachi fights all the way to the end. He wins. And then he throws Kazuya into a volcano. Escalation, right? And then Tekken 3 happens. We'll get to it. Tekken 4 turns out, oh, by the way, I survived through like the magic of genetics thanks to this corporation called G-Corp, which would be a very big deal. And basically, they've been going at it ever since. This is an unending blood feud between the two. The story of Tekken's been running for about 25 years from Tekken 1 through Tekken 7, and I think Tekken 8 will be about a year after Tekken 7. But yeah, it's basically non-stop violence between the Mishimas, and we have more Mishimas to add to the mix. You can see here on this family tree, there's a bunch of people we have not even mentioned yet. So let's keep the cascading failure of children going. So sometime before the end of Tekken 2, it turns out Kazuya found himself a lady friend. And you better believe it is never explained what Jun saw in Kazuya. She likes the bad boys, I guess. That's the best guess I got for you. But anyways, they had a kid. That kid's name is Jin. After he debuts in Tekken 3, Jin's nominally the protagonist of Tekken. Which is interesting because, Tekken 1 and 2 do not have heroes. Both Heihachi and Kazuya were bad guys. So Jin finally becomes a hero, well, at least for a little bit. As Wally is attempting to have a redemption arc in Tekken 8, Tekken 6 and Tekken 7, he's worse than both of them combined. Remember earlier in the video when I said whoever controls the Mishima Zaibatsu could start World War III? Well, turns out that's exactly what our boy Jin does. He starts World War III, causes tens of millions of death, and his explicit goal is to increase suffering in the world. It is not unfair to say Jin is worse than Hitler. He certainly didn't start this way. Tekken 3, Tekken 4, Tekken 5, he's the plucky go-happy kid. Only downside, born into the bad family, and every now and then grandpa comes, has his thugs gun you down, and then he shoots you in the head. Any family has their troubles, right? But the thing is, from his father Kazuya, he inherited the devil gene. So all those wacky devil powers, Jin has them very much the same as Kazuya does. And basically through Tekken 3, 4, and 5, it's basically his coming of age story, trying to manage the angst of having devil powers, finding his true self, all that usual nonsense. Thing is, Jin is the official winner of the Tekken 5 tournament, and in the Tekken 5 tournament, whoever wins gains control of the Mishima Zaibatsu. And once again, the Zaibatsu is a very powerful company, in fact, more powerful than most countries. We got the whole thing, absolute power corrupts absolutely, sure. But the real downfall for the world here is one, Kazuya, his father, controls G Corporation, as we mentioned earlier. And G Corporation, also very powerful, wants what the Mishima Zaibatsu has. So they're butting heads there. And worst comes to worst, he starts having bad dreams. So people gotta die. So before we get into that, it's a whole thing. We gotta move on the family tree again. So let's move from Jin to Lars. So Lars is Heihachi's son, although we don't know the mother. So Lars is basically a genetic experiment, not like a weird laboratory one. Basically and literally, Heihachi is trying to figure out, okay, this whole devil nonsense, what's wrong with the boy, aka Kazuya? Is that more on me or is that more on his mother? Mostly because Lars is introduced in Tekken 6, Tekken 7 didn't happen yet, therefore we did not know about Kazuya's mom. And yeah, you know what? Turns out, no, it's all his mother. Lars is legitimately a good guy. He's basically an anime superhero. In fact, he's so anime, he's a guest character in one of the Naruto games. So yeah, legitimate good guy, so not everyone who's born in the Mishima bloodline is a complete jerk. And also, he's a bright light in the world in Tekken 6, as he's leading many resistance forces against Jin. Just all around anti-Mishima Zaibatsu, as the world's falling the crap, Lars is doing the best he can. And he's almost Heihachi's favorite son in that, well, Heihachi just doesn't hate his guts. There's a little bit of grudging respect there. But he's very much a secret son because until Tekken 6, Kazuya had no idea he had a brother. So going back to Tekken 6 here, meet Azazel. So Azazel is the progenitor of all this devil gene nonsense. The titular devil, if you will. And apparently way back in the day, he ruled the world, but was overthrown as you do. So now coming back to Jin and World War III, Azazel, knowing that two successors of the devil gene, Kazuya and Jin, existed, started sending them dreams. Nasty dreams saying that if the suffering and negativity in the world increases, Azazel will basically break his chains, find physical form again, and come back alive. And Jin says, hey, that's a great idea. If Azazel has physical form again, Jin can kill him, and then therefore end the devil gene and hopefully remove the devil gene curse. So since he personally didn't want to be afflicted with the devil gene anymore, he basically got a god complex, thought himself better than everyone and all nations and all peoples, used the Mishima Zaibatsu, and declared war on planet Earth. Legitimately destroying most countries on Earth, seizing basically every single strategic resource on Earth, and potentially setting back the human race hundreds of years, because I just don't want to be a devil boy anymore. And how well does that work out? Turns out not even a little bit. By Tekken 8, Devil Jin is still a thing. Azazel was temporarily defeated, but still around and alive in Zafina's hand. And as long as he's technically captured, sure, but still there, the threat still remains. So he basically destroyed the world for absolutely nothing. Sat out Tekken 7 while Heihachi and Kazuya fought for basically control of the world. You know, what's left of it, the world he helped destroy. Kazuya won that fight, so now Kazuya has also declared war on the world, and Jin has returned, and his grand mission statement is, "Sorry, my bad." Whoops! Can't blame a guy for trying, right? You know, lots of characters go through redemption arcs in video games, sure, but most of them didn't screw up as bad as Jin did. Maybe he's sorry now, but it's very fair to say Jin is absolutely no better than his father, Kazuya. And Heihachi's absolutely better than both of them because he was only merely a regular jerk, not a planet-destroying super jerk like his idiot son and grandson. Now, let's shift the family tree again to someone Heihachi can actually be proud of, what is widely considered to be his real sons. And you think I'm joking, but yes, I do absolutely mean the bears. So Heihachi is actually an animal lover, and he is the owner / father of Kuma, and there actually is 2 Kumas. So Tekken 1 and 2 is the original Kuma, and then come Tekken 3, there's actually quite a large time skip, and Tekken 3 and onwards, for all the other games, is the son of the original Kuma. And Kuma is the bodyguard, officially, of Heihachi, and also just compatriot / companion. Heihachi taught Kuma both Kuma's martial arts, specifically Kuma Shinken, Fist of the Bear. And to call it for what it is, Kuma is absolutely a comedy character, right? He's not a deadly serious character, furthest thing from it. And occasionally, Kuma and Heihachi butt heads. Usually some form of Heihachi trying to play a trick on or otherwise being duplicitous to Kuma, because that's the nature of Heihachi. But with Kuma is also the only time you'll ever see Heihachi truly happy. Not pulling any schemes, not pulling any tricks, not doing any evil, just legitimately having a good time, smiling, and being happy. And that's why many consider Kuma to be the true son of Heihachi. Also, come Tekken 8, he'll be one of 2 characters carrying on Heihachi's legacy. He'll be inheriting some of his moves, and is also very literally wearing his gi, although stretching it out a fair bit because he's a bear. So yeah, his plot in Tekken 8 is, Heihachi was always there for me, and now Heihachi's seemingly gone, so Kuma's doing his best to hold down the fort, as it were, and also inherit his martial arts. But I did say one of 2 characters inheriting his legacy, so let's move this crazy chart to our final, as of yet undiscussed character, and that is Reina. So as of the time of me making this video, Reina very recently made her debut, and she very seemingly is the next hidden child of Heihachi. Just like nobody knew about Lars, nobody knew about Reina till right now in Tekken 8. So there is some mystery around her, although let's be real, there was the leak, and the leak said she was Heihachi's daughter, and the leak was 100% correct. But there's a lot pointing to her being the next inheritor of Heihachi's legacy. One, as she's debuted, she's in a big fancy chair. Big fancy chair always means important. And one key critical thing is what's on that chair. That's this guy right here. This is the logo of the Mishima Zaibatsu. At the end of Tekken 7, Heihachi seemingly dead. We'll see. The Mishima Zaibatsu officially no longer had a leader. And if she's here sitting in the big important chair with the logo on it, probably a good indicator that she may well very be the leader of the Mishima Zaibatsu now. Kuma's helping, that's part of his story, but he's a bear, right? It's hard to run a corporation when you're a bear. So her having such a clear visual link is a pretty big hint, although that's pretty subtle, right? You can miss that on the first few go-rounds. The one that's less subtle is she has a bunch of his moves and can do the famed Electric Wind God Fist uppercut, which only Mishima family people can do. So that one's a little bit more on the nose, you know, a little bit more hitting you over the head with that. The full extent, however, of Reina and what she will have to offer in Tekken 8 will have to wait, though, until Tekken 8 launches. Although certainly she'll be adding to the Mishima family drama. So that's the Mishima family. So it all starts at the top with Jinpachi, who for the most part was just a legitimately well-meaning individual. Then his son Heihachi, not so much. But then it turns, as time goes, Heihachi's a saint compared to his son and his grandson, who are literally the devil. Heihachi may have screwed Heihachi may have screwed a lot of people over, let's call it for what it is, right? But he didn't exactly start World War III over some bad dreams. Going into Tekken 8, Heihachi is now presumed dead, although this is hardly the only time that's happened, so we'll see about that. But we do know that the Mishima family drama is literally tearing the world apart, so wherever the plot goes in Tekken 8, it's certain to be interesting. So as far as video game families go, it's assured to say that the Mishima family is among the most toxic of them. And that said, that is the video. So hopefully going into Tekken 8, this has caught you up on some of the lore, some of the characters, and just a lot of the info about the series in general. And I hope you enjoyed the video. This took a while to make, not gonna lie, so if you could leave a like, that would genuinely help the video out a lot. I would appreciate it. But otherwise, we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Tekken.